Kick off the meet. All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Yawa Hansen-Quao. As you can tell, I'm in a different location than usual. Today's my husband's birthday. We've been out on the beachfront having a lovely time. But yeah, I really am excited to meet the group and to just dig into the journey that we've started together. Can you believe it's already been a week? We started last week, Monday. Not everyone on today's call was on our kickoff conversation. So part of what I want us to do tonight is to give people an opportunity. If you were not on the kickoff conversation last Monday, I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and to, just tell us more about you and what exactly drove you to want to join the Renew Challenge. I did a deep dive series that many of you saw before you joined the challenge, and I talked about my own personal motivation for the challenge. Excuse me, my own personal motivation for the challenge and some of what we'll be covering. So, as we get started, I want to open up the floor. If you were not in the kickoff conversation, because a few of you joined, when we started, I'd love to give space for you to do a proper introduction. So, Anatu, I don't know if you don't mind starting with your intro. What drove you to the challenge, and what are you hoping to get out of it?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Anatu Bin Lawal, and I work in partnerships at various levels, and I run my own social enterprise support organization called Social Innovation Africa. I think I joined because I'm at a place in my life where I'm getting older. I started getting hot flushes, and I'm perimenopause, and for a while, I've been thinking of taking control and about my health, especially. So I want to have to be in my best condition. I just started a new job, which is a little bit global. So I just want to be able to look good, but basically, it's really about being healthy. And I haven't had a child yet, so I want to be in the optimal condition to have healthy eggs and to continue to be on this. I have polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. So a lot of that is losing weight to be able to get rid of it. So I've always been busy, always been, finding it hard and things like that. But I began to realize that things are easier when you have a support group, and I'd never really explored that. And so after a few um, realizing that you can have a partner, you can be held accountable, you can have a group, a support group, and something that you report to, and you get tips and you learn. It's really been a really, really great discovery because most of my life I've had to do things alone. So yes, I thought I'll take advantage of that and then join and learn some tips and really just focus. So I don't lose weight when I'm just focused on like, oh, just lose weight. I need to have a purpose and I want to be healthy. And in so doing, I'll be well. A few years ago, I had an aneurysm and I was able to walk a lot and drink a lot. And after that, and lose about 20 kilos. So I know I can do it. So with the support of everybody and being in that, I said, okay, let me go for this and just be my optimal health condition. And the side effects will be the weight loss. So that's where I am. And Anissa is also my sister, my big sister. And so we are both on here and challenging each other and supporting each other. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anatu. It's just so wonderful to have you here and to take this journey with someone you know is always beneficial because you get that innate accountability that I think is crucial. And I love what you said about trying to do things alone. I have always been that solo bird. I walk alone, I figure things out on myself, etc. And so I too am seeing the benefit of community. It's said that if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. And I like telling, I have a mentoring community, by the way, called Elevate. And I love to tell the members of that community that it is possible to go fast and far. And if you want to do that, part of it, oh, can you? All right, thank you for muting. So it is possible to go both fast and far. And part of how you do that is by welcoming accountability and then also, setting some targets and guardrails for yourself, which is part of what we'll be talking about today. So thank you again, Anatu, for introducing yourself. If you're on this call today and you were not in the kickoff meeting last week, Monday, I would really love for you to, unmute and introduce yourself if you don't mind. I see, Anatu. I don't know if everybody else on the call was here. Julian, were you with us last week, Monday? If not, we'd love to hear from you. I don't think Anisat is on the call. All right. Anyone else on the call today that wasn't with us last week, Monday, when we kicked off? You can use the chat box if you're unable to unmute. That's fine as well. I know not everyone is able to unmute. Some of us are multitasking, so we've got a lot of noise in the background. But I feel like it's always great to feel more deeply connected to our communities when we actually know who's in them. So, for those of you who do not know me, if this is your first official group call with us, my name is Yawa Hansen-Quao and I'm the curator of this 52-day Renew Challenge. I set this up as a way to give back and to teach many things that I learned through my own 2-year journey of renewal. A lot of what I have experienced physically include, a lot of weight lost. So cumulatively, I've lost a bit over 40 kilos of weight. I've also been able to reverse chronic disease. So, hypertension, diabetes, and high blood cholesterol. I was on medications for three things. And by God's grace, I'm not anymore. So I learned a lot and I went through a process that a lot of people seemed interested in. And that's where this 52-day challenge opportunity came about. So it was birthed through my desire to give back and to pour into people, and I'm just so honored that this has become a very international community of women who are committed to making sure that the rest of their life is the best of their life. That really is my goal here. I know a lot of us want to look good and slay. That's important too. But I think the most meaningful piece of this is the health outcome, making sure that you have the vitality, the vigor, and the vibrancy in place to do the things that God's actually called you to do in the world. Some of us, because of the health or challenges that we face with health, we're unable to really actually pursue or, actually fulfill the assignment that we have from God. So that's why I feel really passionate about this. And I just really wanted us to kick off today by giving people who perhaps were not in our first meeting the opportunity to introduce themselves so we all know who's who and what's what. I do want to reiterate that, we really value confidentiality and discretion in this community. This journey is actually very personal, and it's personal for me as the initiator of it, but for many of you, many of the topics and the reflections and all that we will share will require a level of vulnerability that you might not be used to. So I am determined to keep this a very safe space for everyone. I do record the sessions really for the benefit of those who aren't able to join live. And, I encourage you because all of the sessions are recorded and uploaded to as a private, unlisted YouTube video. No one's able to actually watch those unless they have the link, and no one's supposed to have the link unless they're in our group. So I know sometimes we feel so interested in helping others that we feel like it's an act of generosity to share what we are learning. But this is a private community, and I really want to encourage and insist that we all treat the information in these calls as private to you, the person who paid a token to be here, and also private because we want to know the people who we are communicating with. So discretion is necessary and required. And if I notice that we've got an abnormal amount of viewers on the recordings, I might need to deactivate those. So please, I just really want to reiterate that this is a safe space and this only works if we commit to confidentiality and discretion. So thank you again for that. So our renew journey, you all know that we've got these five pillars, right? And these five pillars are really to help anchor our learning and enable us to be on a journey that enables, us to look at the five areas of our life journey that really influence our vitality, our vigor, and vibrancy. So, we this is day 8 essentially of our journey. And as I said in the deep dive series, our first 10 days are committed to this first pillar called relationship. I've taken you through 2 sessions so far, really, getting you to scratch the surface of your relationship in 4 different quadrants. So you may recall, I asked each of you to, on this journey, make some daily commitments. Each of us is committed to drinking water daily. Drinking water daily. Done. Okay, there we go. So I want to encourage you to please mute when you join the call. Thank you so much for the quality of the recording. It would be immensely helpful. So we've made 3 daily commitments to ourselves. The first commitment is that we would drink 2 liters of water daily. I hope you're doing well with that. We're asking that you sip throughout the day. Studies have shown that it's actually detrimental to just chug huge amounts of water. So to enable the absorption of H2O in your body, it's better that you take water in small sips on an incremental basis throughout the day instead of like chugging. So if you notice, like, in the beginning for me, I used to do that until I worked with a nutritionist who helped me disabuse my mind of that. So it's about not drinking 1 liter at a time twice a day, but a glass here, a glass there. So a quart here, 0.5 ml there. And we want to encourage that you drink before or between your meals and avoid drinking during meals if possible. And one of the reasons that my nutritionist gave about not drinking with meals, if you can avoid it, is because drinking water with your meal has a tendency to dilute your digestive juices. So sometimes, if you notice, you might get indigestion and other things that are triggered by the fact that your digestive enzymes were diluted by all of the fluids that you were drinking during the meal. So we do recommend that you take 2 liters of water daily, and we encourage you to sip it throughout the day and drink it if you are able before or between your meals instead of during them. I felt like it was important to emphasize that because this is one of my key learnings as I worked with my nutritionist through this journey. The second commitment we're making, and especially for those who weren't on the kickoff call, I am inviting everyone to fast. And I'm not even talking about just food, but fasting, when you're going through a journey of transformation, being able to put yourself in check in areas that you feel your life may be out of balance is one of the requirements that I think is one of the catalysts that really enables you to see a lot of change more quickly. So some of you have said that you're fasting bread, you're fasting social media, you're not going to be eating certain foods during this 52-day period. And I really want to remind us that if there's something that has an unhealthy control or hold over you, that might be worth fasting. So, you know what that is, but as we did the deep dive in relationship, we looked at 4 quadrants of relationship with yourself, relationship with food, relationship with God, and relationship with others. And I really want to, if you've not decided yet what you are going to fast or how you will do it, think about these 4 quadrants. Is there a relationship that I should probably push pause on through this 52-day period? Maybe you've got a habit of gossiping with someone, and maybe for 52 days, instead of picking up the phone daily with snide comments and remarks or gossip about people, you're going to say, no, I'm not going to do that now. For this 52-day period, I'm going to push pause on that. And in my area of relationship to this person, I'm not going to allow that to be the dominant factor, this unhealthy habit that I'm losing control over, right? For some of you, it may be a specific food. For some of you, it might be, like a spiritual fast, a religious fast. And for some of you, it might be boundary setting. Like there's certain people that don't belong in my space in this period for this time. So I just really wanted to remind you of that second commitment. And then the last commitment that we've made is that we'll move for at least 20 minutes a day. And movement really is, can you break a sweat for 20 minutes every day throughout this 52-day renew program? And be reminded that some exercise is always better than none. It doesn't need to be in a gym, or think, how can I integrate movement into my daily activities as opposed to how do I set myself up and exclude, put myself in some environment where I absolutely have to must. Okay. And then, set the intention and make sure that you share. We love seeing the photos of your post-workout sweaty selfies. We love seeing, all of the sharing that happens in the community on the WhatsApp group and even via email. And last week we assigned our accountability partners. So I hope that you will commit also to that personalized accountability so that we can together also make sure that we are uplifting each other throughout this journey. So I wanted to remind us of these daily commitments that we made and the deep dives that we did all of last week into these four different quadrants of self, of others, of food, and God. All right. So I do want to remind you, I mean, I shared this on the WhatsApp group, all of the accountability pairings. For those of you who joined just this week, you won't see your name here, but I do hope you have reached out. You do have each other's emails so far, and you will have the opportunity to continue being in touch, even post the challenge. But the goal of this, as I said before, is to help each one lift one. And so if you don't see your name here, we'll follow up with you privately to make sure that you have an accountability partner. And note that I'm in everybody's corner. So don't hesitate to reach out to me directly if you need some support. So we'll kick off with a reflection question. I'm going to open up the floor. I want to make sure I understand what is resonating, what are you taking from these sessions? And so the reflection question that we're going to dig into right now, share one word that describes how you're feeling and one thing you've learned so far, like your biggest learning so far through the challenge. So I'm going to call someone randomly to kick us off. Cynthia, are you able to unmute and share? I'd love to kick off this reflection with someone who, I know and can pick on. Cynthia's been in a previous challenge.
Yeah.
So Cynthia, please unmute and share.
Mm. For today, I plan my day after work. I like to go and go for my exercise, which I usually go to the pool. Before the day closed, I was so tired. I said, "Whoa, what do I do? I need to push and finish my exercise." I had done some walking, but not too much. So I still came home, just came and rest. Took some rest, and I'm here on the call. I was trying to beat myself, say, stop that, stop that. I had to speak to myself to stop, which I'm learning to do because else I'll always go back to that guilt trip. Hey, you didn't do it, you didn't do it. It's okay. Tomorrow I'll pick it up. So for me, my day was good, busy, tired, tiring, but I'm here. I'm on the call. I've been looking forward to it. So I'm happy I've been able to join. And so far,
About journaling, I think I'm doing better than the last time. I'm doing better than the last time. This morning, after reading my Bible, I learned something, never lose hope, which at a point before, I asked myself, what am I living for? And I've asked that question before. I was so down. So when I saw it, I really wrote it down, never lose hope. So I'm still here.
I love it. Never lose hope. That's such an encouraging
Yes.
message to us all. And I think it's so easy to lose hope
Mhm.
if you're not deliberate. And I appreciate you sharing because I know for for me personally, when I started my own 52-day journey, I I had a lot of disbelief. And I think the biggest thing that I needed to dig deep into is just rebuilding belief. I don't know who is probably in a place where they feel mentally bogged down and afflicted psychologically. But there's a part of transformation that requires a belief, like a rebuilding of dashed hopes and beliefs. I had been on countless diets before, countless exercise groups, countless attempts at helping to cure myself or improve myself that didn't work. And I think there's something about hope that gives us an audacity to try again. So, Cynthia, I appreciate you sharing that. And just really, I applaud you because I know what you've been through personally with grief and loss, but you still keep showing up and keep striving to be better. So, God bless you. The floor is open. Anyone else care to share your reflection? You can use the raise hand function if you'd like to share. Otherwise, I might just go through my list here and call people randomly. But my goal really is to get us to deepen connection. I don't want to be the one who's talking the most during every one of our coaching calls. Yay, Mirabelle. Yay. Please unmute and share.
Hi, everyone. So, my biggest takeaway from our session so far is just being consistent with drinking water. I think I was probably averaging 850 ml to about a liter a day. Just because I'm not I'm not focused on drinking water. I had an app, but I just wouldn't track it and I'll just snooze the app. But now since we have to post, then I wake up and I have a bottle as I'm, going around. Then around the time I work out, another 500 ml goes in. So it's, by the time it's 10 or 11 a.m., a liter is in. Then I can struggle with the second liter for the rest of the day, but just being conscious of drinking water and just marking it as I'm going along the day, whether or not I have my bottle, it's made me really aware about how much I was not drinking, and now I'm staying on top of it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Maribel. Hydration. So that's your one word, eh? Hydration. And you'd be surprised how many of us are actually chronically dehydrated. Sometimes the brain fog that you are experiencing, or the lethargy, or the body pains or aches are as a result of your body not having enough hydration. And one of the things that I learned from the nutritionist that I was working with is that oftentimes thirst can be misread as hunger. So she would often encourage me that when I feel hungry, I should drink water first and see whether or not this is actually really hunger or it's thirst. Because if you have enough hydration in you, it helps your adrenal systems, it gets your blood moving to the right areas, it lessens the likelihood that you'll have headaches and cramps. That a lot of the underlying conditions that are the root cause of the symptoms of disease is a result of dehydration. So hydration is miraculous in many ways. And, I learned from one of my mentors. Now, some of you may think this is spooky, but she would speak over her water. And, the Bible says that it's God who blesses our bread and water and takes sickness out of the midst of us. And she said every morning she'll take a glass of water and speak over it, that as I drink this water, I receive strength. And or she speaks over her destiny, that as I drink this water, I'm taking in the goodness and the favor of God. In fact, there's this really popular study that was done by this Asian scientist. I think his name is Emoto. His last name is Emoto, and he did this study on water, and he would speak to water in a certain glass and would say good things over that water, and he would say bad things over another, glass of water. And the one that had bad things spoken over it would get moldy or, not result and I think he did this with rice, that a bag of rice that he spoke kindly over and a bag of rice that was spoken negatively over. Like, there's just so much science to back up the fact that you can turn all of these three agreements that we have for movement and for hydration and for fasting into something that unlocks spiritual power in your life. That as you take your sips of water, that Lord, I thank you that my water is blessed and sickness is out of me in Jesus' name. Those would be things that I would say in my own journey, that Lord, I thank you for water. Help me enjoy the taste of water more than I enjoy the taste of malt. I had a bad thing for malt and Coke, fizzy drinks. There's something about that. So I would speak over the water that you are sweeter to me than Coke. That this water, as I drink, it's hydration to my body. It's sweeter to me than Coke. And like honestly, I really honestly am enjoying hydrating my body with water in ways that I didn't before. And I think that part of it is the spiritual practice of speaking over the food that we're about to put in our bodies and the drink that we're going to put in our body. That is one, we want to make sure it's wholesome. And two, we want to activate the power of the spoken word. So thank you for sharing, Maribel. I'm glad that you're hydrating, and I'm glad that this journey is really being impactful to you. Right. So I see a message from Gloria that you're seeing that drinking water while eating isn't healthy. Yep, that's something that I had to get over. I mean, now I only drink water if I've had something super spicy that is just burning my mouth and I just really need to quench by cooling it down. But now I'm learning to actually prioritize the drinking of water before and between meals instead of during the meals. So thank you for sharing, Gloria. All right. Cynthia's asking, how do you rebuild belief? I think beliefs are, instead of rebuilt, I think a better word is replaced. Like, I honestly think that instead of trying to rebuild a belief, like your job is to replace a belief. Like, if I have believed for a long time that I'm big boned and I'm just going to be big for the rest of my life, I had to replace that with I am a perfectly balanced child of God, and food is not my master. That Lord, God keeps me fit, firm, and healthy all the days of my life. I walk in health and wholeness, that I'm not big boned, I'm not this. God knows my frame. And I will treat my body in a way that glorifies him and puts me in health and wellness for the rest of my life. I had to replace the old belief. So my old belief was telling me that I could do nothing about the way I looked because I'm just a big boned person from a family of big people who ate a lot and ate often, but I needed to replace. So I would encourage you, Cynthia, instead of trying to rebuild, because some of us try to build on a faulty foundation. So instead of saying I am not that, just say what you are. Like, I am healthy, I am fit, I am firm, I am muscular. Those are things I speak over myself. I'll post in our WhatsApp group the fitness declarations that I make over myself. I do think that what you speak over yourself matters, and I think a big way that um that you build belief is through constant repetition to yourself. It is said that what you repeatedly hear, you eventually believe. And I think a lot of us are believing wrong things because that's what we repeatedly heard. We repeatedly heard things like, if you get too thin, nobody will love you, or if you get too big, nobody will love you. So you may need to replace that with, I am loved no matter what shape or size I am. God isn't loving me or not loving me based on my shape or size. That at my healthy weight, I'm loved. I remember sharing with you vulnerably, to be honest, that in the early days of my journey, my husband wasn't quite on board. He was like, I love you the way you are. Why are you trying to lose weight? Why, we had a very symbiotic relationship in terms of eating bad food and, bad practices that were fueling some of the diseases that I was experiencing at the time. And so sometimes your nearest and dearest will put ideas and thoughts that become limiting beliefs for you. So instead of trying to rebuild, you've got to replace them. Like, this belief limits me. I'm going to replace it with a belief that propels me. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to what I've said in answering Cynthia's question, but I think there's so much wisdom on this group, and I really want us to be able to help each other and be accountable and really help us to overcome the negative beliefs. Like, that's part of the job of our accountability pairings, to be able to say, hey, you keep saying this, it's not a healthy thing to say. Stop it. I learned to stop claiming my diagnoses, that I am not diabetic. I'm not, I would just declare that I'm healthy. Like, my body functions perfectly. Every one of my metrics is where it needs to be. I'm a perfectly balanced child of God, walking in divine health, and every day of my life is the best of, like, the rest of my life will be the best of my life. Those are the things I would constantly say, just replacing the old beliefs. So I would stop saying things like, this X disease runs in my family. How does that help me? How does that, it kind of excuses me to accept something that I actually do not want to see. So I really, really want to encourage you. If you want to see change in your life, start changing how you talk. Like, you may need to brainwash yourself the way I do, by just constantly repeating what you want to be true. And the Bible says, let God be true and every other man a lie. So I like finding scriptures that support the new beliefs that I'm trying to entrench in my life, and just say it over and over and over and over until it becomes my truth. I also like to add visuals to it. I don't know how many of you have tried vision boarding before, but I do love vision boards. So one of the things that I enjoyed doing was taking a picture of someone whose body size and shape I liked, and put my face on it and just said, look, Father, I thank you that my body is coming into wholeness, and I am coming into the right size that you have for me. And I told you in our last call on Friday, sorry, over the weekend on Saturday, I told you that I also was praying to God to help me know from his point of view what weight I should aspire to. Not my point of view, not what culture's point of view. What do you want me to weigh? And I remember the day because I have a journal entry. It was in July last year where I felt he was speaking specifically to me about the number. This is what I want you to weigh. And I wrote it down, and that's been my benchmark. So I think that there's this spiritual force that God backs us with when we're ready to become all that He's called us to be. So I share all this with the hope that it encourages you to not think of rebuilding, but to replace those wrongful beliefs with beliefs that are anchored and rooted in truth, which I believe is the Word of God. So, Cynthia, thank you for your question. And if anyone has anything to add, feel free to use the raise hand function or to type in the chat box. All right. So let me see. Oh, Cynthia, you were struggling with malt and Coke as well. Ha ha ha. So many of us, I tell you, the struggle is real. But when I read and was doing a lot of reading about some of the flavorings, the colors, the additives, and some of the drinks that we love, I realized that I needed to divorce them if I was going to walk in good health. I told you today is my husband's birthday, so we came out to a beautiful hotel on the beach. And, I ordered some lunch and I just could taste that this has been seasoned with these monosodium glutamate, whatever. I took a few bites and I said, you know something, I can't eat this. So I ordered something else and ate healthily and nourished my body with what I felt was more wholesome for me than that. So this journey will require you to make some decisions, and decisions are best made when you've got fundamental beliefs that are so entrenched that you cannot waver. It's got to be entrenched so that you will not waver. The goal is not for 52 days, ladies. The goal is that the rest of our lives will be the best of our lives. So I tell you, yeah, Clara says she's still fighting the malt urges. I pray for grace for you. And I pray that, if maybe for this 52-day period, that might be a thing to fast, that Lord help me fast off of that. That if I can go 52 days without this, then I now have control, especially if there's something that's has such dominance over you. I was watching a clip. Someone was saying, like, if you can't go a week without something, that thing might be an addiction. Like, just check it. Like, if you can't imagine going a week without something, you know, like that isn't God or isn't your family or like those fundamental, valuable things that we should all value, like, check that thing. So I hope that's helpful. All right. Anyone else care to share their answer to this reflection question? All right. Joan says, so funny. I said yuck to a bottle of water that I had to drink since I didn't have my water bottle. I drink warm water and it almost tells my mind I'm drinking a warm beverage. I like that. So you got ways to trick yourself into doing what you got to do. Yeah. I like that. I like that. All right. I see Evelyn has her hand up. Please unmute and share.
Hi, good evening, ladies. So how am I feeling today? Today I'm feeling focused. Today's day 8. So I think the first couple of days I kind of struggled a little bit because I was all over the place. And then so I feel more focused today. I kind of understand what I want to do, what I'm trying to achieve. And then the second question, what I've learned so far. It's just simplicity, intentionality, also acknowledging that this is hard work in the sense that I've been in so many diets, this and that, and not just diet, just life in general, just kind of confused. So now, one of the reasons I joined this program was hoping for some kind of clarity, some kind of direction, not necessarily to lose weight per se. It's not really on top of my list. So yeah, so hard work as in I don't want to do the crash diet where I'm not eating this, I'm not eating that, but I just want to be intentional about what I put in my mouth. So if I'm gonna have a cake, it means that day I have decided I'm gonna have a cake, acknowledge that it's not good for my body, and I have a reason probably like, okay, like you say, you're going to a birthday party. I should be able to say, oh, a small size should be okay. So not to binge on it later on, just to be always intentional about what's going in your body, hoping that this behavior will stay on even after the 52 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for, I love the word you use, intentionality. And I think a lot of us are struggling because we haven't quite set the intention for what we are aiming for. And that's something that I'd invite each of you to really consider before we move into our next pillar this week on energy. Like what is the goal for you that you're setting? Um, and how will you practice integrity with yourself? in committing to what you have set as the goal. In my first rendition of the 52-day experience, I ate nothing but raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, drank nothing but water. It was extreme. And I committed to that because I wanted to go fast and I wanted to go far. And it was difficult because I was tempted every day. And I shared some of those temptations with you. But I tell you, there's something about practicing integrity with yourself because everywhere you go, there you are. And like when you know you can trust you, it builds and boosts your confidence. It gives you a spring in your step and an audacity to pursue bigger and better. So I would invite you to see this journey as a precursor to you becoming a better version of you. You know, I felt like the theme for last year was prepare for prominence. Like if you can get your body in check, it's the precursor or you know, the the pathway to getting other things in check. John C. Maxwell, the leadership expert, says the way you do anything is really the way you do everything. And if you see that you're loose and uncommitted with your health and dietary habits, it's chances are that you're uncommitted and indisciplined in other areas. That if you can find dominance and success in this, it spills over. So I've seen that in my own life that as I figured this stuff out, everything else has become a little easier professionally and personally. I was telling a dear friend of mine, I work way less and make like my quality of life is much better, working less, making more, really being able to feel proud of the choices that I am making and the people that I now get to influence because the introduction was when you fix these foundational things, it opens you up to the next best expression of yourself. And I hope you find that for yourself as well. So thank you for sharing, Evelyn. I greatly appreciate you. All right. All right. Let me see what other messages we've got. I don't see any new messages in the chat box. Would anybody else like to unmute and answer the question for us? I've only heard from a few of you so far, and we've got a bunch more on the call. You can also answer the question in the chat box if you're unable to unmute. I think we've heard from at least three of you. I'd love to hear from more if possible. I know we heard from Cynthia and Mirabelle, and Evelyn. Anyone else care to unmute and share?
Hey,
Joanne?
this is Joanne. I can share.
Yes, please.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Please go ahead.
Okay, my kids just came home, so bear with me if you hear them running around. I I am feeling motivated and intentional today. Um, and I'm feeling also present. Present meaning I am being mindful of what I am doing and how the stuff I'm doing is making me feel. For example, I am feeling accomplished today. I went to the doctor and I got my labs done. Um, and the fact that I am trying, even when I have a whole day that is busy, like before I get my foot on the bed, I have to do some stretches or do some workouts. And I would never do that before because I'm always thinking, oh, I should go to the gym and go and exercise. Then I'm like, oh, I've had this thing here forever. Why shouldn't I use it? And then the impact that I'm feeling on my body after using, I'm like, oh, so this works. So it almost feels like I'm having a transformation time, not only on my body but my mind, and also being intentional in terms of when I am going to do my Bible study and pray, and also being intentional of not putting other people's priorities before mine, because I would do that a lot. I'll be like, okay, let me finish all these things and then I'll do mine last. By the time I get to mine, I am exhausted, and that's not where I want to be. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Joanne. I really can identify with the putting everybody else first. And then when it comes to your stuff, you're like, ah, too bad. I use the best and of my energy and my focus to support others. And I know that happens to us, especially as mothers. Most of us, if we're, for those of us who are parents at least, can probably see the pattern that a lot of the weight gain or the falling apart of our bodies seems to happen after childbirth, like where your focus is so not on you, it's on your child or your children and your household. And it takes everything, it seems, to keep them happy and keep them healthy and fed and supported and nourished, etc. That sometimes throughout that journey, we make it a practice to disregard the voice of self-care. So I can so identify with that. And I think it's so important to realize that when you pay yourself first, you investing in yourself really sets you up to be of even more immense benefit to others. I've seen that the healthier I am, the more, the less irritable, the less likely I am to be needing extra support or putting undue pressure on my spouse or my kids because I'm in a good place. So it's so important, and I appreciate you sharing that, Joanne. And I love that you said you're feeling focused. I think a lot of us can join groups like this and just like be observers instead of participants. And that's why I really am encouraging interaction and commitment to the accountability system. Because honestly, if you don't keep yourself actively engaged, you might very easily slip off the bandwagon. So we want to leave nobody behind and we want us all to get results here. So I really encourage you to keep it um keep the focus. Thank you, Joanne. Anyone else care to share? You can use the raise hand function. I'll call on you or just unmute and talk to us. If you're unable to unmute, you can use the chat box as well. We still love you if you chat. Let me check the chat box real quick. Let's see. All right. Joanne says, that's right. Paying myself first. These days, the announcement by the air hostess about save yourself first resonates deeply with me. I love it. They say put on your own mask before you assist other passengers with theirs. I love it. In case of emergencies, put on your own mask first. And I know what it's like to just really feel um that it's unchristian to let others suffer when you can help, but it's also unchristian to love other people more than yourself. And I think that used to be a big barrier for me, that I would go out of my way to be a support, a blessing to other people, but would not go out of the way for myself. And so I really encourage you to pay yourself first and to practice that type of integrity that enables you to really do the needful for self first and then be able to support others. All right. Okay. Anyone else care to share? Ready to share? Yeah. Uh, You can unmute and share, or you can type in the chat box, right? Some of you are being super quiet. Maybe you're multitasking and that's okay. But a couple of calls to action. Remember to connect with your accountability partner if you haven't done so already. We really want you to not lose the momentum. I think we've started with a lot of great momentum, and I love seeing the videos and the chats and the side messages and all of that, the photos, the sweaty selfies. It's always amazing to see that. So please keep them going. I really want to think about as we wrap up this week or this first 10 days on our relationships, I want you to journal and track your answer to this question and the prompt really is, what's the one thing that you can do this week to honor your relationship with yourself? What's the one thing you can do this week to honor your relationship with God? What's the one thing you can do this week to honor the way you relate to food? I think it was Doreen in our most recent coaching call who talked about, loving the preparation of her food, making sure that there are different colors on the plate, making sure that like reformation in her relationship with food led her to shed weight and have healthier outcomes because she now began to treat her body differently and relate to food differently. What are you going to do differently in your relationship with food, in your relationship with others? If any of you care to share, you can definitely unmute and share here. But I do want you to track your journey and to write and to chronicle this for yourself as well. Because I think that some of the learning in this type of journey will happen in retrospect. It'll happen in week 2 or 3, or maybe even after the 52-day challenge. But having written and recorded your mood, your emotions, your reflections, and your thoughts makes it more likely that you'll catch all of the lessons and be able to put them to proper use. Anyone care to share on this reflection? What's the one thing you'll commit to doing differently in your relationship with yourself? Maotor, I see you've unmuted. Kindly share. Hello, Maotor. I see you're unmuted. Please.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening.
Sorry, I'm driving. Probably my hand just hit this.
You didn't mean
Good
to.
evening,
Good
Yawa.
evening. Good evening. Okay, no worries at
No,
all.
no, sorry, I joined late. I'm over 30 minutes late, and I'm just following.
Okay, no worries at all. I'll put you on mute. Drive safely.
You actually,
Oh, Mahoto, I hope I didn't mute you prematurely, but I have a prompt on the screen. I'm asking what's the one thing you might commit to doing differently this week to reset your relationship with food, etc., God and others. Nana Afua, I see you are also unmuted. Would you like to share?
Sure. I've actually been having a really hard time joining. My network has been horrible. So, I'm not quite sure where we are. Is it the reflection prompts you're talking about?
Yes, it's the reflection prompt. I'm asking what's one thing you would commit to in this week to honor your relationships, either with self, God, food, others.
Yes. I think this week I think I am going to really the one thing that I've been trying to do more of as far as the exercise is concerned is to get back into walking, eventually running. I really would love to get to where I was many years ago and try and do a marathon. So I'm
Mm.
going to this week I've got my new pair of sneakers. So I'm going to start small. So I'm going to start walking a bit more than what I've been doing. So that's the plan for this week.
Oh, amazing. And congratulations in
So
advance.
discipline for me, it's just getting back to that level of discipline again. But it's baby steps, and then we'll take the big girl steps as we go along.
Amazing. And congratulations in advance. I really applaud people who can run marathons. That is a superior level of discipline. I have a dear friend in Zimbabwe who's actually preparing for a marathon, and the she posts daily videos of her workouts and her regimen just to prepare. And I was like, wow, you're all of this is the prep work that has to go into being able to run for maybe 3 or 4 hours nonstop. Wow, my mad respect to her and everyone else who does it. So we're cheering you on. Congrats. And I'm glad to hear you've invested in the new pair of sneakers and you're, gradually increasing your level of walking intensity. And, we pray all the best. And you've got to be sending us photos and videos then so we can keep you encouraged. Thank you for sharing, Nana. I greatly appreciate you. Anyone else care to share what would you do differently? We spent these last few sessions doing this deep dive conversations on relationship in these four specific areas. And I really, really want you to journal and I just really want you to dig deep into this. And, my goal is to reinforce the importance of recording it somehow. Some people, you know, don't like journaling, like the writing, you could voice memo. I have lots of voice memos to myself, which is also another way of journaling. But I want you to find what works for you because if you're gonna, make the most of this journey, you've got to be recording it somehow. So, for those who may not be prepared to share it here and may need a little more time to figure out what they're going to do, I really encourage you to put it in your journals and to, keep it close because one of my favorite things to do now is to take old journals and see where I was and just thank God for the progress or laugh at myself for the immaturity or to applaud myself for the wisdom I had back then. You often do not know how far you've traveled until you can look back to some sort of record. So again, I really want to encourage you to to really record this journey. And the floor is open. I wanted today's call to be more interactive. If you've got questions or thoughts or reflections or advice or encouragement or lessons you've learned, or you've got a need or need a lead on something, the floor is open. This is a vibrant community of women from all over the world, and we're committed to making sure the rest of our life is the best of our life. But there's also a lot of knowledge in the room, and I want to make sure that we're being as supportive of each other as possible. So as we wrap up today's coaching call, I just thought we'd have an open mic session where if there's a burning question, if there's something bothering your mind, if you've got a thought or reflection, you've got a piece of advice. I see that there's some real dons on this group who really have the fitness thing in check. Maybe you've got advice for those of us who are a little more new to it. But yeah, the floor is open. I'm gonna give a few minutes to see if anyone wants to take advantage of that, and then we can wrap up for today.
Hi,
Right?
Yawa. So,
Yeah, Michelle, please go ahead.
I think I'll give a tip and then I have an ask.
All
So
right.
the tip is so I love going on YouTube, and the perspective I go on YouTube is muscle confusion so that my body doesn't get used to one way of doing things and then I'm not going to see any changes. So I'm always looking out for a new workouts. I have specific, people I follow and do their workouts, but I'm always asking other people, who are you working out to, whether it's Grow with Joe or NML or Chloe Ting, different people. So when I post, sometimes I'll put links to some of those workouts because that way, maybe I think I've been doing bicep curls for a long time. Then I go and do something with another person, and all of a sudden they do it differently in terms of
Mhm.
sets or reps, and then I have new growth. So that's a tip. Then an ask is I'd really like to know what other people's hacks are in terms of overcoming late night eating, because that's one of my biggest obstacles that I have to overcome. So it will be great to hear what other people's hacks are. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Mirabelle, I love the tip you've given. So thank you for that. And I noticed it this week. I can't remember who posted a workout video that I tried, and I was like, "Oh my God, my body is moving in new ways. This is different." And it was really invigorating. And so I've done a few more exercises with that one than, because I had been kind of religiously following a group of like a couple who work out. And yeah, I felt like switching it up really helped it in re-energize my body. So Clara, Mirabelle, you did have a question about how to get rid of late night eating, and I think one of my biggest help is go to bed early. Like, I try to wake up early and not stay up too late, and I think if you're up like watching like a sitcom or a movie, it's it's crazy how many scenes are shot around food and the adverts and like sometimes it's just seated because it's in front of us. So I try to just go to bed early. And I hydrate when I feel hunger. If I do have to be up late, I try to hydrate instead of eat. Or if I absolutely must, it's got to be something, like super nourishing, super nutritious. But yeah, my major fight against that is go to bed early. Like, don't even be up and about, roaming about where your food is. But I welcome other pieces of advice. Clara, your hand is up. Did you want to give some advice, or did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to add on to what you were saying, or the question she asked about the hacks.
Mm,
So, what I do, because I tend to work very late, I get home late, and then I'll be tempted to eat something. I started having extra food. So whatever I'd packed for lunch, I would have a bit left over, so that by 6 p.m. latest, if I still find myself in the office, I quickly eat that. So when I get home, I'm not tempted to eat again. I also hydrate. I would feel the hunger pangs at some point, especially if I'm able to go to bed early. If you have a toddler, well, yeah, I wouldn't say he's still a toddler, he's 5 year old. Yeah. So if he's refusing to fall asleep and you would have to somehow try and get him to sleep, you end up sleeping late sometimes. But when I hydrate during such times, it helps.
mm,
I'm not tempted to eat. However, if I do find that I have to eat, like you're saying, yeah, it has to be something super nutritious. So, like the jar of granola I shared, I think sometime last week, I make sure I also have some at home
mm,
with a tub of Greek yogurt, unsweetened. So if I absolutely must eat something, I either just take the granola or the seeds. They're not the ones that are stuck together. I know that there's a type that is all stuck together, raisins and all that. I do that rather during the day. But if it's nighttime and I have to eat anything at all, then I go for the almonds, the oats, that combination,
mm.
either with the Greek yogurt or on its own. And then I drink water. And then I just convince myself that I'm fine. It's enough. Go to bed.
Great.
And I don't do anymore. So
Great.
yeah, you could try that one having leftover lunch if you have to stay at work late, or you come home and have something nutritious.
Great. Thank you for adding on and really great tips there. I also try to keep a few coconuts in my fridge. So if it's late, I get hydration and some healthy fat from the coconut. So, break a coconut and drink its water. So you get a little sweetness, a little, filled with electrolytes, good hydration. And then you can eat the coconut meat, which is, a good source of some really healthy fat. So, and it keeps you full. So I do like to get coconuts that have flesh in it because like you eat a coconut with its water, it kind of holds you. So I do like that. So I usually at every point have some coconut in my fridge for this purpose as well. Um, Great. anybody else care to ask a question, give some advice, offer some reflections, share some lessons, or ask if you've got a need? All right. Thank you, Sharon, for your comment in the chat box about who you work out with. Grow with Joe on YouTube. Excellent if you're new to exercise or coming back to exercise after a long break. Thank you for that. And Cynthia's agreeing with me. Go to bed early. Like no good things happen when you're up, especially if you're up and aimless and just entertaining. You're like, there's something about TV or movie watching late into the night that makes you feel like you need something sweet and salty. So amazing. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Otherwise we can end today's meeting a little earlier. But otherwise, the floor is open. Oh, Julian's given us another suggestion. Try walking with Leslie on YouTube. I walked with Leslie during COVID. That was amazing. When we couldn't go outside or it wasn't encouraged. Walk with Leslie is someone I discovered around COVID in 2020, yeah, 2020. So I think that's another good one that you can just in your small little corner of your house, walk a mile or two or however many. Um, awesome. And we can keep these resources coming in the WhatsApp group. I highly encourage it. Our goal is to make sure that no one has an excuse to drop the commitment that they've made to themselves. No one will have an excuse to not feel supported. And this is why I want to re-encourage you to commit to your accountability partner. If you've not been in touch yet, please do. If you've just joined the group, you probably haven't been assigned, but we'll do those assignments before our next call on Friday for sure. But note that I'm a partner to everybody, so don't hesitate to ever reach out to me if you need me. And my goal is to make sure that this is not a heavy lift for people. So that's why, we're meeting just twice a week and everything is virtual and, we want everyone to be in community, but not overwhelmed. So I hope, you're finding that this is a good pace for absorption and commitment. But if you have feedback, even if it's critical, don't hesitate to reach out to me as well, because I'm committed to improving this process for people and making sure that everyone who is really, really um, committed to making sure that the rest of their life is the best of their life gets as much as support as I can offer or this community can offer. All right. All right. Oh, this is Josephine. Okay. Julian is actually Josephine. I think my son configured this to his name. I was wondering who this was. Okay, great. Josephine, good. Thank you for clarifying. It was nagging. It was a question that was nagging my mind for a bit, but we're so glad to have you here, and I hope things are going well so far. If no one else has a question, a thought, a reflection, an advice, or encouragement, we can wrap up today's call a few minutes earlier than usual. But my prayer for you this week is that God will help you to rightly calibrate the relationship that you have with yourself and with Him and with others, and especially with food. That our bellies will no longer be our God, that we will no longer be subjected to these ungodly appetites that cause us to punish our bodies in ways that many of us are struggling to recover from. I was reading this Bible scripture on Sunday. I can find it and put it in our WhatsApp group later, but I was reading the scripture that says that anyone who destroys the temple, God will destroy. And I felt like that was such a powerful warning. Like, if you are purposely destroying your temple, God will destroy you. Like, that felt like, wow. And I actually started to use it as a prayer topic. Like, oh my goodness, that Lord, over people in my life that are sick, your word says that anything that is seeking to destroy the temple, you will destroy. So, in Jesus' name, this sickness called cancer is trying to destroy this person's temple. So, in Jesus' name, we call for the destruction of that. But I do think it's a warning that once we know better, I think God has an expectation that we will do better. So I really want to encourage you throughout this coming week that what you are coming to learn and know through this process won't just be a thing you know to be scholarly. It'll be a thing that you know and start putting into practice. So help you God. And for those of you who haven't yet got a health checkup, as I said, I'm not a health professional, and I do encourage you to do this process under the supervision of your health professional who has your health history. So if you haven't gotten a checkup yet, like Joanne has, I really encourage you to make some time to do it, especially before we start the nutrition and exercise pillars of this journey. So I really hope that you make these commitments to yourself and really track your progress through your journaling and through your accountability partner as well. So, dear God, thank you for a wonderful new session. Thank you for our new members. Thank you for everyone and the journeys that they're on and all that you're teaching and unfolding to us as we just dig deep into these sessions together. I'm just so encouraged by all of the activity in our WhatsApp group and people accounting what they're doing, what they're eating, how they're hydrating, how they're moving. And I pray for strength for each one of us that will continue to move in you and live in you and have our being in you in Jesus' name. I pray that you'll keep us until our next session on Friday and that you'll continue to deepen our learning and our bonding in Jesus' name. Amen. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's session. I am looking forward to seeing you Friday for our final session of our first session rather of the energy pillar, and then our unfolding journey together will continue. If you're new and you haven't been assigned to an accountability partner, note that I'll do that before our call on Friday. But if you've got questions or anything in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out to me via email or via text. So see you Friday. Until then, stay well. Mwah. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Pleasure. Bye.